Welcome to the Riff, episode 3. It has been a week post Thanksgiving. Hopefully, everybody's had an amazing time with their families. And Lisa won't be here with us today. She's out doing better things. I think she's making money or doing something. I don't know. She's
Hey,
out there doing something.
yeah. Yeah, it's like it's crazy, I feel like we're in this like constant changing ocean of everything. It's like really hard to keep track of. We were even talking earlier this morning about like where this leads into the new year. And I think that it's such an open-ended conversation. I feel like I don't know. Everyone's like and I feel like people are focusing on the holidays and the end of the year is coming and your final stuff is happening, but then like these companies are just like rolling out with stuff. And it's like if you're not watching the game, you don't even know what sport is being played right now.
Yeah,
It's
it's
crazy.
insane. It's insane. I know, last week, gosh, there was a bunch of rollouts with, I think we covered some of it on last week's session, but yeah, I think I think the temperature and the gauge, like, where things sit with regards to AI, adoption of AI, it's moving at such a pace that most people, and again, we just did a webinar with, a lot of real estate professionals and some other folks, but it's moving so fast that if you are struggling to, even, know where to start, you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. I would say this though, those people that have decided to kinda get in the game and learn and, like, start per se, I mean, really start, not some BS, like, I'm gonna get a ChatGPT account and I'm gonna mess with it once a week. You're still not in the game, guys. You're not in the game. You're in the game when, you are there's an attention to, like, fluency. We say AI fluency, there's an attention to it. There's intention behind wanting to grow with AI and learn it and become better with it. And that means staying plugged in, being in community, right? Testing, growing in the platforms that you're currently using and scaling with that. And I think that's where, you and I were talking earlier today about next year. And again, we're not going to bring you all down, promise. But we were talking earlier today about what what is in store for us for 2026. What is it? And where do we go? And there's a lot of stuff we talked over the last couple sessions, but I think these are real questions that people need to be wrestling with. Like, what does it really mean to go into the new year and understand how AI is going to impact your ability to make a living?
Yeah, I think like I I don't even know if any of us can really even answer that question. I feel like it's almost like an event horizon on a black hole or something. It's like the closer you get, the more you realize that you don't really know what's on the other side of it. I think for those who aren't really in this world of things, they may not be paying attention or just not locked in, not using it. I think the idea of what AI is or is not may be simple for you. But I think the more you learn about it, the more you use it, and the more you see what these companies are doing or not doing, the more you kind of realize that I don't really know if anybody knows what they're doing or where it's going. And this stuff is advancing at such a rate. I mean, taking, Google's update last week as an example, that actually, I think what today is December 3rd, yesterday on December 2nd, OpenAI called a code red. Sam Altman put out a code red to their entire organization because of what Google released, is able to do now. They
Yeah.
stopped, as of yesterday, they stopped operation on every special project they have, all new features, and now they're focusing on usability and making people more and more, for lack of a better term, maybe I'll just call it what it is, on using ChatGPT every day because they realize finally Google's been like the sleeping giant this whole time. And with Flows and Gemini and everything else, everything's connected together. They already have adoption, they already have users, they already have everything connected. And the result of this is that OpenAI is now about to be running an uphill game from here on out. And I don't know if anybody really knows where this stuff is going. Like,
Yeah.
you look at Google and what they've done, and everything's going to connect, but How does that look 6 months from now? I'm really not sure. I can see it going a lot of different directions. I don't wanna say, like, I have no idea, but it's really hard to say because even if, like, the last thing I'll say here is and I'll let you hear your thoughts, Alex, obviously, like, with OpenAI calling a code red yesterday, did they not know? Did they not know what
Yeah, I
Gemini was
can't
doing? Like, did
imagine
they
that they
not
don't
know
have
this?
I can't imagine that they don't have moles in these other companies telling them what's going on, what's coming down, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I it's hard for me to believe that it's almost 2 things. One is they got caught off guard and they didn't realize it, or we're all playing this weird game that's being played. Because if you notice the money circulates from NVIDIA to Google to OpenAI to Anthropic and back to NVIDIA. It's like it's this circle of like the money just flowing in a circle amongst all these companies. And it's just hard for me to believe that Sam Altman, unless it's just, you know, it's just, bait, it's just, for news. Code Red, like, really? Did you get that surprised that they launched? You didn't see that coming, Sam Altman? You didn't see that they have literally a whole platform that enterprises, the normal day-to-day person is using to send out communication, emails, and other things, right? And repository of documents and spreadsheets, and you were surprised that they did what they did. Like, that to me just it's weird. It's weird. Okay.
And I feel like it's like, what's their play gonna be like? They can't connect to everything as well as Google is
No,
connected to everything. They'll never be able to. They will
no,
never be able to.
I know.
So it's like when does AI become no longer a chat interface? When is it no longer a written thing? When does it actually start to take operation and start to actually take things over, so to speak? Like when does that actually happen? I don't know. There's so much money being put into it. While you just said that, I just looked it up, and there's been $510 billion in corporate spending on AI just this year. Venture capital 157 billion. Next year is projected at 615 plus billion. That's a ton of, you're talking trillions of dollars of infrastructure, building power plants, things like this, like the amount of power we're talking about, like where is this stuff going? Because I feel like in a way, using this stuff on a daily basis, I've used ChatGPT since day one. It came out end of 22. It's been a chat tool since day one. When is it no longer that? Where is this stuff really going, and how does it start to integrate with everything? And it's starting to become this sort of like a mystic, as I said, like a black hole mystery kind of a thing, because it's like you can't really see beyond it. I saw a clip from an interview of Elon a couple of days ago, and he mentioned the black hole analogy. That's why it's fresh in my mind. But he was saying like no one really knows like where it's going, and they're at XAI cranking out huge features and everything else too. Is the limit of this stuff really just a chatbot that you talk to? I don't think so. I think this is like almost like the sticks and stones primal version of this stuff. Where does it actually go? And I honestly think that we're on the cusp of massive disruption, massive disruption.
Yeah, it's coming, and I think, it's interesting. So for those we just got this webinar, and we were talking to a bunch of people there, and, you know, I think what were the stats that we were looking at, right? So it's like 12%. Is it 12%
Yeah.
that are gonna
Yeah. It's
be
12% are replaceable, 2.2%. So yeah, maybe I can even bring this up because I think it's actually something that'd be
yeah, I think you
fantastic
should.
to
Let's
talk
share
about.
that. Yeah, share that. Let's talk those stats and what it really means, because at 12%, that if AI can replace today 12% of all jobs it's in the US, right? Not global.
Yeah, it's US.
So then that means, again, I heard somebody else talking about this too, was, it's not about like it replacing it. Yes, it can replace the current jobs, but you and I have been talking about this for a minute now. Think about what that means. There are jobs right now that are people shouldn't, like, companies should not be paying for, companies should not be paying people to stay in that job, but they stick around. It's almost like they're just dead weight to the company. And for whatever reason, they've been depending on how big the company is, they've been able to maneuver in that organization and never really get let go or whatever. They find their way, right? There's a lot of jobs that are not relevant anymore. Like you don't need that person. So, and that's not to say, that's not like a cold way of saying it, but it's the reality. There are jobs that there's just that person's not needed anymore. However, so is if the 12% is representing some of those jobs, I get that. And I'm sure there is a subset of that 12% that is represented by roles today that are you know, in corporations or government or whatever that are no longer needed. And they know that. So they're like, well, AI is going to replace that. But let's just be conservative here. And maybe there's even stats to back it up. Let's just say that only makes up, let's say it's 5%, right? And so you have 7% that are still like real roles that AI will replace. Frontline, it could be on the development side, it could be on the customer support side, um, that are no longer gonna be needed. But what does that now create? I don't think it creates like a big unemployment gap. I actually think that it will create. I want to be optimistic about this. That I think it's going to create, and I've had a change of tone on this. I've gone back and forth, but I do believe that there's going to be new jobs, new opportunities created. But I say that I don't know. Here's where I kind of go back and forth. I don't know if everybody is capable of creating a new opportunity for themselves. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think a lot of people are have the ability to create the new opportunity. That's where I'm always like, when I hear people like, "Oh, there'll be new opportunities created," but by who? Because if somebody's I've known people in my life, right, that I have tried to help with everything that I have. Try to, like, expand their mind, try to be like, "Hey, dude, you can do it on your own, you can do this," and for whatever reason, in their mind, they're locked. They can't do it. They don't know how to do it, they don't know how to take a next step. You can give them all the guidance, and they just struggle to take the next step of, like, to do it on their own, right? To maybe be entrepreneurial. So if you're asking people, if you're saying that there's an opportunity that's let's just say 7% or whatever, the full 12, that could be replaced by something brand new that AI is gonna bring to the table. Who in that 12% that gets replaced are gonna be the ones that really show up, and then what is the gap?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just as a sidebar for those listening who may not be able to see the screen, I just want to say real quick. So we've got a study out from MIT that came out at the end of November here, and the numbers we're referring to here are two huge ones. Okay, you've got a staggering percentage that 12% of all United States professional roles, private sector, I believe, but let's just say private sector, are replaceable with AI. That doesn't necessarily mean that 12% are being replaced. What it means is AI is capable to replace the actions, tasks, roles, and responsibility of 12% of the United States workforce as of today, December 3rd, 2025. Massive. And the other staggering one is that only 2.2%, call it 2%, of all US professionals have ever used AI. Ever. 12% could be replaced. Only 2% have used it. I ran some math while we were talking just then too. If you were talking just private sector jobs, 12% of that is 16.3 million people. AI is capable of replacing 16.3 million people as of today. And to your point, what of those 16 million people, are there opportunities for every single one of them? Are they all going to create their own opportunities from that?
Yeah.
It sounds crazy to me. I can't, to be honest, this is a nut we can't crack. Alex and I have had a lot of off camera conversations about this idea of what the actual economic impacts of this are going to be and like how it actually looks. I can't really wrap my head around it, to be honest, because I really don't know how this plays a role. It's not like overnight they're all going to go away. It just means that we're going to have a very disruptive time before it's even able to happen. Very
Yeah.
disruptive.
Yeah, and I
And
think
it's something
it's
scary about it, but there's
yeah.
also good things too. But it is, I don't know, I'm not going to lie. There's something about it that's like, man, I don't know.
I don't that's the part where, because I've heard influencers, I heard one recently was like it was a similar type of stat, and it's like, "Hey, this is gonna be the impact." And then they try to, like, position it where which is good, I'm all for it, like, optimism and, like, "Hey," but, those it's not that it's gonna replace the job where, like, the human's not needed, it's going to empower the human to do more in the role or something, and I can see where so, for example, like, let's just say a customer support rep, right? Gets AI can do the customer support, right? Through a call, through a text, through a web chat, whatever, right? It can do the customer support. So you don't need that person like is not needed. So is it now a matter of like, does that person like do they still okay, let's say that they're not needed for all of it, but maybe some of the role, but then what happens to their pay? You can't keep paying them the same, right? Because they're not doing all the other stuff unless they're managing the AI. Again, if they're managing the AI, do they have the chops, the capability to do that? So that's what I'm always I'm like, what happens to those people if they don't have they're not built for entrepreneurship, and that's okay. A lot of people are not. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that becomes the question. It's not a matter of, the role gets replaced and then this person's gonna automatically like come up with some AI solution and then have a job
Right.
overnight. That person may never have the capacity to launch anything. And no matter because everybody's been screaming at the hill, like at the top of the house, like, hey, get in the game, start to understand. No, they ignored it. And then when it takes their job, now
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Like,
I was
now what?
having a conversation with someone a week or so ago, and this idea of like AI in the workplace, et cetera, came up. And, they were like, what are you supposed to do in it? And I was like, well, the thing is like, you look at some of these stats right here, 2% have ever even used it. What does that mean? When that number 12% that are replaceable becomes 50% or 70%,
Dude,
it's
dude,
not going to happen. Like it's not going to go 12, 13, 14. It's going to go 12, 20, 50,
yes.
90.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's what it's going to do. So what happens when it gets to be 90% of roles, tasks, actions, responsibilities can be handled by AI? What's going to happen? This is what's going to happen. A 10-person team, 9 of them are gone. Who's the one that stays? It's the one that understands how to work the AI.
yeah,
That's who's going to stay. That's who's going to stay. I honestly believe it doesn't even matter what your role is right now. If you're not figuring this shit out,
yeah,
you're not going to be able to actually do anything. Like you're not going to be able to do anything. You're cooked. You're done.
yeah. Yeah, that's where a
It's
lot of people
crazy.
I think they're underestimating it and they're like they're treating it like I think of it like this. Okay, so let's just like let's like kind of scan out for a second. So with Gemini releasing workspace flows, okay, if workspace flows comes out and it's embedded into the very platform that most people, even enterprise companies, are using today, all the G Suite products and services, as well as let's go even a step further, Copilot and the things that they're launching on the Microsoft side of things, right? With Office Suite. Okay. And then you have companies that rely on an enterprise or a company's ability to, let's say, automate. Let's use a company like a Zappy or something like that, right? What happens to those companies that become the pressures that are put on those companies when they, at one point in time, had a legitimate solution that was like you couldn't see far ahead where like they could be at risk. Like at risk, not from like a competitor per se, but like extinction. Like to literally be extinguished and be like, "Oh, yeah." Zapier was a thing. Again, we use Zapier, we get it, but, like, I look at just Gemini tool and I'm like, I can just see and the ease of use.
Yeah, just prompting a workflow. You've never prompted
Ease of
anything before in your
use.
life, you just prompt it immediately. I mean, those companies I think this is a fantastic point here, like, those companies that have been so secure in their position with their solution. I mean, you had Zapier, Make.com, N8N, that's it. I mean, there's not really
Yeah, yeah,
many
yeah.
more out there. If they are, they're not big players, right? They're all significant they're almost negated the day Gemini drops flows. It's done. What are they gonna do?
Because
Now,
you know what
maybe
a lot of
Gemini can't
yeah.
I was just gonna say,
No, go
maybe
ahead.
Gemini can't connect to external things outside of Google yet, but you don't think that's coming?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's just I feel like the problem is, another thought on top of this is this, like, because ease of access has been able to be granted to us to be able to vibe code stuff or create an app or, hey, you got an idea, I can make it in an afternoon now rather than hiring someone for $100,000 and having a team do it. There's two things that I have about this. Because one, a lot of those ideas, these bigger players are just going to consume up one way or the other. If you do actually ramp up to a successful position, you're going to be absorbed or knocked out. I would say 90% of them at this point, especially if it's an AI solution. The second is if I create something, some niche idea for something, just because I want it in my life, and that's a cool idea for a fitness tracker or whatever the case might be. And you also now have the ability to vibe code whatever it is that you want to, then what ends up happening is that, like, what are we doing? We both vibe code our own app just to use ourselves. Because you're not gonna if I come to you say, hey, you want to use my fitness tracker for $100 a month, you would say, no, I'll just prompt it this afternoon and I'll have my own. Now, is everyone in the world going to prompt their own apps? Probably not. I don't think that's the case. But I do think that the amount of competition that you would have entering the market with literally any idea is no longer a situation where it's a unique idea for starters, because I don't know if there are such things, but you will always have more competition than you have ever had before. And you will continue to have more competition every single day as it progresses. You're not going to be in a situation where you're going to have something that's like, oh man, no one's ever thought of this. Let me build it and secure my place in the market before anybody can get up to speed. And then you end up capitalizing on it and providing value and everything else. You're going to have someone else go, I can make that in literally a single prompt. We're getting to the point where you can just launch apps with a single prompt now. So, like, where does the value exchange come from? This is the thing that, like, this is like the only real problem that I like stay up at night thinking about. I honestly don't know the answer to this question. Like, how does it play out?
So so for those of us that are in the game of building, and we know this because this is stuff that we've done, is where's the value? Well, the value, and most people are not thinking like this, is you protect your IP. So how do you protect your IP? Well, most people that are building are not protecting their IP. They're not patenting it. Well, what do you mean patent? Like, yeah, patent your process. You don't have to build the LLM to patent it. You're not patenting the LLM. It's like you don't patent, if I made whatever, this glass, right? Maybe the design is very unique and I patent the design. I'm not patenting the ceramic that makes it. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I patent the design of it so that nobody can design my cup that way. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing, which, by the way, for us, with what we're building, because we're building other things outside of, the stuff we do, you know, that's how you gain the advantage. But that's the little secret is like, so for those of you listening, you're coding your stuff, you're building, look, you're not unique. But if you don't figure out a way to like customize your process and validate it and see if it can really be unique and something that can add value to the market and think along the lines of protecting your IP with a patent, then you need to start thinking about that now. That's the way to protect your ideas, and yeah, it costs money and it's not cheap, but if you're gonna be serious about it, because to your point, like, what's the point of me creating, like, what would be the point of me at this? We're too late in the game for this. Meaning, most people, no one like, not most. I take that back. Be an interesting stat, just really quick. Like, how many people are actually using vibe coding apps? You know what I mean? Like, how many people are actually vibe coding, like, real production value, like, solutions? And what does that look like? 'Cause I would say that that's even small that's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the percentage of people creating solutions, right? So most people don't even I would say most people don't even realize, like, they can do it, but that's not gonna stay forever. Because think about it, if Google AI Google Studio is built and you can do now with Gemini 3, you can build amazing things, whatever, and it's free. You don't think that at some point within your G Suite environment on the side tab, you're gonna have a little icon that says, "Hey, do you wanna just build your own version of X?" And then all of a sudden you're like, "Yeah." So the exposure to people's ability to create, I think is going to ramp up. And then if those people are astute and, have some awareness of, like, how to actually build something, I actually think it's gonna get easier too with, like, the back end database stuff where, like, you can connect database, security of things. All those things will start to tighten up, making it easier for the novice to really spin up any solution. So you're gonna look at an app and say, "Man, why do I wanna pay 20 bucks for a month to, um, to track my fitness?" I'll just do it I'll at scale, you know what I mean? Unless there's something unique. I think those are the solutions. Now, the type of solutions that I think will last are the ones that are I think there's like multi-step, multimodal processes that are not gonna be they may be easy to replicate for a big player, but not for the daily person that's like just vibe coding. They're not gonna be easy to so those will have some protection, and then the question will be, did you protect your idea? Yes. And then if a big player starts to develop something, now you have some protection. Or you create something that the big players aren't really interested in, and then you created like a moat around your idea where like, hey, I know the big players are never gonna really get into the game of this because they have other bigger fish to fry that are more important to their mission. And so there's that opportunity. So for those of us out here that are creating, building, like think about what does your IP look like? How are you protecting your IP? You can patent. We're doing it. You need to start thinking about along those lines, like, can you patent and protect your ideas? And if you're building with vibe coding tools, right? And connecting. Because if you're not, then you might just be wasting a lot of time and energy and money.
Yeah. And some quick stats that I looked up here. So there are, as of right now, 3.5 million people using the main vibe coding tools. Okay, so 3.5 million people. There's only been 100,000 that have launched pieces of software into the market.
And most of those people have never even
That's
like, for
crazy.
example yeah, yeah.
Now, like, think about it
100,000.
like this. So, like, I was just thinking of an analogy, because I think some of this stuff is like hard to wrap your head around. And I was just thinking, like, the idea of like, oh, I can prompt an app and you can prompt an app. It's like the challenge that I have is it turns the entire economic model completely upside down. Where, like, let's say, for example, every week you go to a farmer's market and there's, a produce stand, a meat stand, a place that's got, fresh brewed beer, and they've got this thing and that thing, and you go by and you go to every single stand because one has produce, one has meat, one has your kimchi or your bread or whatever the case might be, and you're going booth to booth to booth to do that. And I would say, like, how many people are actually brewing their own beer or butchering their own meat? Or, like,
Right,
how many
right.
people are actually, it's a very small number of people, and those people are running the businesses, right? But what if you could just talk to your phone and it creates all the meat and creates the bread and
Yeah,
creates the beer? Not everyone is going to do that, but a very large number of people will. A very large number of people, because why would I go to the farmer's market anymore to go booth to booth when I could just have my own, and it's custom to me. It's like the exact meat that I like. It's the exact beer that I like. It's the exact whatever it is that I like in the way that I want it to be. And it's just made for me. Now think about it the same way in solutions or software or tech stuff. It is that same analogy where the number of people who were actually coding and building and launching and going to market and getting investment was very small. And the number of people who were using those services very large, maybe 10%, 90%. I don't know, I'm making that up just to prove a point. It's going to flip the other way around. Where if 90% of people start just prompting their own solutions on a daily basis, who is left to buy it? Who's left to
Yeah.
become the revenue drivers? And if the
Yeah, this
big
comes
companies end up soaking the ones up that actually get market fit, not even by buying them or acquiring them, which maybe they would, 1% up, 1% up, 1% maybe would get acquired. They're just going to take that feature and roll it out.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's a weird place we're going into. And the fact that it's only 12% right now, the role is going to be replaced by AI. 6 months from now, I would call out it would be at least 50%. At least 50%.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. That's where I think, like, your ability to, man, it just God, I want this so bad for everybody. I really do. I mean, I talked to my kids about this. I'm like, "Hey, the world's changing." Um, you know Yeah. We don't know what the future holds for us. We don't know how this is all gonna play out, but you kinda see some of the writing on the wall, and the one thing I would just call to action for everybody is you just have to like, you cannot dig your head you can't put your head in the sand and just assume that things are gonna be okay. I mean, well, things are gonna be okay. What I mean by that is assume that, like, you are secure in your position today. By the way, nobody is. That's the false narrative that we believe sometimes when especially the fear of taking that step to go and do something on your own, is that there's this sense of security if you're working for a company that you will always gonna have a job. And the reality is people are being let go left and right today because AI is somehow implemented into that department, and it's creating efficiencies that now are replacing the human, right? So, if you have an idea and you're like, "Okay, I gotta figure this out. I need to get the ball rolling," then now is the time to start thinking along lines of like, what could be a little side hustle? What could be a little side project that you can start to wrap your mind around, like get engaged. By the way, we're not technical, we're not engineers, but we've been around this long enough to know where, we know enough to be able to produce and create. And then we go and then, collaborate with developers and those that can help us get things across the finish line. And a lot of people out there, you're stuck. You believe you can't. You believe it's not for you. But the reality is what's not gonna be for you is the day that they let you go because they don't need you anymore.
And you're
That's
not going to
that
be able to
now
like
the job is not you're not needed. And then you sat now what are you gonna do? Now you can start to learn AI, you're gonna start to now is the time that you're gonna get in the game. It's
with
too
the
late.
other 10,000 people who were just let
That
go, they're
just
all
got
going to
let
be like,
go.
maybe I should have learned AI, you know?
Yeah, that just got let go. You're now you see the problem is that you're gonna be competing with all those people. Like, why would you put yourself in that position?
It's insane.
It's a fool's game.
How I mean, I don't wanna be dramatic, like, the house is burning, and everyone's like, "Well, I'm fine because my room's not on fire yet." I mean,
Yeah,
that's sort of how it is, and I don't want to look at the situation as a negative thing. I've been a proponent of this stuff for so long, but I also see the inevitable impact that is coming. Like, you have to see it. It's there, and it doesn't mean, like, the world's going to end. It just means, like, you have to do something for yourself, in the very least for survival, if not to thrive with it. There's an opportunity for that as well. But as you said, having your head in the sand over it is insane to me. It's insane.
it's insane.
I remember in 22, 23 having conversations with people saying AI is going to be in every single device we have on us 24/7 a day, 24/7, and it was like no way. And here we are, it's here and it's accepted. If you bought a new phone in the last 6 months, you've got AI embedded in it. Everyone has it on literally everything, every tool, every device, every platform. Everyone's racing. I mean, even like Salesforce and companies like that have been using AI for a year now. Everything has it. So what makes you think that it's not going to be everywhere? It's not everywhere. It's not involved in anything. If you don't use it, 2%, I'm blown away, man. 2% have
Yeah,
ever used it. That's insane to me. Like
exactly.
that blows my mind. 2%.
2%, 2%. And yeah, it just so again, kinda like bring it all full circle, like what should we be looking towards in the future so that we stay relevant, right? So I would say this, if you're on board with us and you can see the writing on the wall and you're like, "Okay, I gotta figure this out. I know I've not been taking it very serious. and I'm still like dabbling or not at all because I'm so stuck in my job and I come home and then I disconnect and then I go to work, I come home and I disconnect and like you're in this routine of life, right? Just realize your company is going to start tracking AI fluency, which by the way, we've created an AI fluency assessment. You can go to fluency.strategyninjas.ai and check it out and get a score on your fluency. Companies are going to start benchmarking their employees. Why do you think that is? It's because they want to know who's learning AI, because the moment they start deploying AI solutions, they need people that can actually understand what the hell's happening. What's happening and how to actually manage a process that AI is going to now to start to, whether it's fully take over or partially take over, they have to know that they can trust the people internally that are on board. They're in the game. They know what's going on. They didn't stick their head up their ass and didn't just said like, this isn't for me. It's for everybody else. That's like, you got to
Yeah,
realize that is. So
you
take
got to
an AI
become
fluency. It's free. We recommend you do that. That's
you
number
got to
one.
become unreplaceable. You
Yeah,
got to
you do.
become unreplaceable. That's
You
what
do.
that honestly is the name of the game. You become unreplaceable at this point. That should be, no matter what you do, no matter what industry you're in, no matter what your role. If you're an admin assistant for somebody, you should become unreplaceable. Become the expert, the master at this stuff. And when they let go of 90% of the team because none of them did it, and you understand how to connect stuff, how to prompt stuff, how to run stuff, how to create new employees out of thin air, you become that person. You become unreplaceable. You secure yourself and you become future proof.
The more of those people that exist in an organization, the better. Because guess what? There's not going to be enough like people to be able to understand it and run it and like be on top of it. Where if imagine having an organization where everybody's fluent, like you're not going to want to let go of these people now that they're fluent and they know what's going on and they're bringing new innovation and new ideas and they're strategizing. So it's like I feel I've been, I've had many years in corporate America, middle management. I know like going back to like the 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 misleading and the thinking that your job is secure. I would see people that have been there for 10, 20 plus years be let go, even amongst them doing okay in their role, just because they were just a line item on a spreadsheet for somebody in finance to cut costs. Because guess what? Especially if your company is public, they got to report to the street, right? And so if they're reporting to Wall Street, their revenues and if the revenues are not up, they got to do what? Cut costs. The bottom line matters, right? It matters. So just realize that you're not as special as you might think you are. Number one. Two, if you're not special like any of us, nobody here is really. At the end of the day, everybody feels like they are, but you have probably gaps in your ability to deliver value. What is the gap? Your lack of understanding of AI. Today's like you got to get in, you got to understand it. That way, and then demonstrate it to your people,
Right.
to your leaders. Like demonstrate that you can
Yeah.
create. Hey, check what I just did. When we
Don't just use
train,
it in the corner.
yes,
Bring it into the meeting, change the
yeah,
culture, because then they'll all see you as that.
yes, you
And that's how
become.
you become unreplaceable.
Because now when you go and they're thinking about, oh, we got to get rid of Jane or Bill or whatever, and they saw Bill come into a presentation like, dude, how'd you do that? You whipped that up and like, oh yeah, I created a custom GPT that can do this. Hey, we said we can't use ChatGPT in our company. No, don't worry. I did it. I did this. What? What do you mean? Oh yeah, we can't. We do have access to Copilot, right? Yeah, I did in Copilot, or I did in G Suite. Oh, Gemini. Yeah, we have Gemini, right? There was no policy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, find your path. Like, it's not, believe me, companies are still struggling to with policy. They don't have their policies dialed in. So if you can if they say don't use ChatGPT, fine, honor that. But if you're using G Suite or using Outlook or using Office and they do have access to Copilot and do give you access to Gemini, then get to building. something that is valuable and stop ignoring it. Like it's not going to come your way. Like somebody's not going to knock on your door one day and say, hey, you're not needed anymore. Because that's what's coming. And those people that are ahead of it, guess what? They created the moat. They're secure. And here's the beauty. If they ever get let go, guess what? Guess what? You know what? Now they are equipped to do two things. One, do something for themselves. They can build for themselves now. They become empowered to say, like, you know what? I never thought in my life after 45 years I was going to go and build my own business now. My gosh, I'm going to do this because they gave me a severance for 6 months and I'm going to build something that's going to be amazing because I've always had this idea. That's one. Number two is if you're not entrepreneurial, guess what? You go to the next company and they're like, oh, hey, oh yeah, hey, I built this. I know how to do this. I know how to do this. You become valuable out the gate because most people are going to interviews with zero understanding of how any of this works. And companies are not looking for those people anymore. They're looking for people that have some understanding of how to deploy. Dude, they're starving for it. We train companies like this. We know they're looking for people that understand this stuff.
Yeah, and imagine like if you know how to do it and get things off the ground, you become such a valuable asset because it's not just you and your role. If you're able to create other roles and create AI solutions for a company, you're 10xing the value of the role.
Yes. Yeah.
You'll end up getting paid more and you end up getting more value to the company. And that's
Yes.
what they're looking for. That's the reason why they're going to let people go in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. The
That's the
value
thing. It's
exchange,
crazy.
like is diminishing daily. What was valuable yesterday in the role that you were doing, okay? And I would even say I'd even extend this to the sales organizations, right? The value of you thinking like it's relationships business. It is. It is 100%. We know that. Like sales is relationships. We know that. Like people buy from people that they like. Okay. But here's the thing. The salesperson that is like legit, like not going to lose and they start adopting AI, they're going to be seen as somebody that can replace all those mediocre performers that the company wants to keep around for whatever reason, never hitting their number fully or their numbers. And they're not going to be needed anymore because John over there, guess what? He created systems and he's now talking to the VP of how to like organize and like, oh yeah, we can create outreach solutions using this tool. We can do this. We can do this. She becomes whoever that person is the person, the oracle in the company that they're going to go to be like, who is what do we need to do next? And they're going to invite you in. You add value. So everything, and that's sales. Anything not related to generating revenue is 100% at risk.
Yeah.
If you're generating revenue for a company in a role like sales, I think there's a runway, but I don't think it's gonna be long. It's not gonna be. It's a little bit longer. If it's it's a non-revenue generating role, you're at risk right now. And you gotta start thinking, okay, I gotta start figuring out like so that because the value, like the exchange of value is diminishing with AI increasing. With the increase of AI, your role is diminishing in value unless you equip it or couple it with AI, then it goes back up in value exponentially, by the way, not just by a little, like exponentially goes up.
Yeah. And I think the media and like the narrative around AI is very misleading for people. And I find that to be disheartening because I think people are scared of it or they don't understand it or they misunderstand it. And they're not adopting this stuff out of a sense of fear or misunderstanding or this like weird clickbaity narrative type thing around AI. And the real result of that is going to be total failure. Like that's
Dude,
what it's going to be total failure. If you're scared of picking up ChatGPT because AI bad, Terminator,
yeah.
Skynet, this
It's
media
taking all the
outlet told me
water.
so.
I don't want to
Yeah,
use
you're
it.
taking all the
The
water. Like
water, it's using too much water, too many. Look,
you're
guys,
going
it's
to
already
be
here,
the ones
dude.
that get let go. You're going
It's
to be the
already
one that gets let
here.
go.
You're going to ignore it because it's eating up all the resources. Guess what? Your phone, everything. It's guys, you're fighting a battle that is not worth fighting. Like, I understand if there's environmental stuff that's related to AI, that's real, and I get it. But if that's the hill you're going to die on, you're done. Like, there is no
You
more
will
hope
die
for
on it.
you.
You will
Here's what I
die
would
on it.
say. I think this is really interesting. You mentioned something just a second ago. I think that it's the equivalent of the old days, which are not really old, where a college degree mattered to get a good job. Okay. Now we know that the value of college degrees have gone down. Like, the value isn't there. Anybody can walk in as long as you can provide value, you can get a job if you can prove it. It's the equivalent, like, understanding AI is like having the new college degree. So a job, remember back in the day to be qualified. Dude, I had my associate's degree for so many years. And eventually I got to a point where like I had to figure out my own, like I couldn't get a job with because everything was like requirement. It wasn't like a recommend. It was like required 4-year degree and this and this and I'm like, well, I don't have that. Back then, I didn't have it. So I was like, so what happens? You become demoralized in the workforce unless you're like a hustler and you're like, hey, I'll figure it out without a degree because I don't need it. And that's what I had to do. I didn't have a degree. So I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. Right. And most people, you know, I think like we have older kids. So I think that we're teaching them now, like, hey, you got to be resilient. This is where the world's going. Get acclimated and fluent with this stuff now. And they're taking our guidance on that. They're still also in school getting a degree, or they already got their degree. And they've already realized, like our oldest, her degree means nothing. It has no value in the job market. Like it's a joke. It's almost like she can't, like that has no weight going to apply anymore. You know what it's gonna be, dude? It's gonna be like you're gonna come to a job interview and they're gonna say like, "Hey, show us how many custom GPTs have you built that are add value? Can you show us what you've done? Hey, what gems have you built inside Gemini that can actually, hey, what automation? Can you show us an automation flow of how you use tools to
Yeah.
dude, that's gonna be the new
I would, I would ask somebody 100%. I would ask somebody, hey, you know what? Here's a problem I have every day. We have 20 meetings a day. I'm losing notes and I don't want to go look at summaries. What would you do to solve that for me right now, this
yeah,
afternoon?
boom. They're gonna see what does this person know, and they're gonna be like, "Well, if you're like, well, I would open up your calendar, and as your assistant, I would," and then right there, they're gonna be like,
Bam,
"Done,
gone.
done,
See ya. You're done.
done."
And people are going to actually, not just in the hiring process, right? They're going to start going to their teams that are there and say, hey,
Yes, yeah.
what are you
Hey,
going to do
here's a
here?
quiz. How would you solve
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
By the
And
way,
I
dude.
think it's
Hey,
like,
by the way, this idea that just came out of this, and
this is the riff. That's what it's
most
for.
people will never deploy anything, so it doesn't really matter. But here's the idea to improve our AI fluency is create those scenarios for employers to start asking their people.
Yeah.
Dude, dude,
I love that
that's a
idea
whole nother layer of fluency that like,
for
can you
sure.
connect dots? Can you connect the dots of actually
And
how to
even like,
automate?
even in the test itself, like we could even do like, the question and then have the flow of what the answer would be and like lead people on. They wouldn't actually have to sit there and build it, but they could be like, I would choose this to connect to that, to connect to this and do this. And that becomes a way that you can test the team. And I actually think that this is a benefit because I don't want it to come across like it's a way to cut people, but I think that you have to figure this stuff out. And so if you understand what people are looking for, you understand what people want to have on their teams, then all that does is empower you to learn the skills in order to do it. And the reality of it is, guys, like it's actually not that difficult. It's actually not
No,
that difficult. It just
it's
takes a
not.
little bit of time. It
Yeah,
takes experience and looking at what's there and experience and having some experience with it. And it
yeah,
starts to click after a little. It's a mindset more than anything else. It's mindset.
yeah. So for everybody, like this is our AI fluency assessment that we've created that we're close to launching. We're working out some of the bugs, but it's going to be able to give everybody like a path to know where they stand. This is going to be built not only for everybody can do like a free assessment, no charge. It's going to give you like a baseline rank and score. This year's a pro plan, like for those that want to consistently grow with AI and give the whole roadmap, very minimal investment. And then for teams and businesses and enterprises, a full on assessment with dashboards, analytics, everything to actually validate your team's ability to launch with AI and to be able to scale with AI. This is one thing here that most organizations we just did a webinar, and most people don't benchmark where they're currently at in their journey of AI. They don't even know what they don't know or what they do know. They don't know. They have no clue. So for those of you that are like, okay, listening, you're like, okay, what do I need to do? Man, at a minimum, at baseline of like where you at, be honest with yourself. Be like, okay, um, am I, do I have AI overwhelm where like I'm not learning anything and I don't know where to start, which is fine. Be honest. You're like, okay, this is where I'm at. Now you can be empowered to like make the move to learn. Or the flip side, which Lisa talked about on the last call. Are you overconfident? Do you think you know, oh, I know ChatGPT already, or I know this, I know it all already. And then all of a sudden we start asking questions because we train a lot of people. And the moment you get to like 3 layers of like maybe 2 layers of questioning, you realize like, no, dude, you're living in a falsity of like thinking of like you actually believe that you know. You don't. And like that's being honest. And we don't know everything either. Like this stuff is changing so fast, guys, that is hard to like get your you gotta be it I would say this, if this is not all you're doing every day, you 100% don't know it all. Nobody does. Us doing this every day, we don't know it all. It's you gotta be there's gotta be some humility behind this. And if you could start with that mindset in your current job role, if you're in a corporate America and your job, you're like, okay, I'm gonna be honest. This is where I'm at. Whether I felt overconfident or overwhelmed and I don't know where to go. Okay. Just realize that you are now with that understanding and that belief of like, I know I need to keep growing. I need to keep improving. Then like baseline yourself and then start to scale from that. And if you do that, you now have something tangible to give back to your leadership. And we're speaking to like a lot of, I know there's entrepreneurs that be watching this, real estate people, but I want to speak like right now to the corporate America people that really, I feel like they're the ones that are really stressed out about like, is my job gonna be taken? Every day on the news, there's another freaking layoff, and then they're tying it back to some AI initiative, guys,
But whether it's actually an AI initiative or not,
or
that's
not.
actually causing it one way or the other. They're saying that's what it is.
Yeah, and they're gonna if they say that, guess what? It's like anything, the rhetoric, it builds and then the fear builds. Just if you can just understand where you currently stand, you now have a path forward. It's like being on a map. When you have access to the map, you know where to go. Like you do. But when you don't have access to the map and you're just looking up at the stars and you never learned, freaking Galileo, how to look at stars
Yeah.
and, or whatever. Wow, is it Galileo that did it?
Or
Who was it?
like a video
Magellan?
game, like a video game where like you explore the first little area of the game and all you see is what's on the map that you've explored, but there's an
Yes.
entire like four other phases that you haven't
Yeah.
unlocked yet. You're like, "Oh
Yeah.
no, I know this game." And then you all of a sudden unlock a whole new area.
Yeah.
It's like that where like you think that you may know, but then once you start to see the full map in retrospect, you go, "Whoa, there's
Yeah.
a lot here, you know?
Yep.
And I think
Yeah.
that's really, going into 2026, I think, people kind of lock in if they haven't already. And if you have, it's just even more reason to keep going because I think like this is case in point of like why there's going to be value in your path ahead as you do it. Start
Yes.
to test some things out, start to try it out. Go into, as we said, like go into the office, talk to other people about it, become the person they associate
Yes.
AI with, you know, lock
Yeah.
yourself in, become unreplaceable.
Guess what? Our business, Strategy Ninjas, why we've been able to grow is because we became associated with those that teach AI. Guys, there's a lot of people that think they know AI and teach it and all this stuff, but we've been consistently we're not doing other things. So
Yeah.
for us, like think of yourself as a business owner, like you have a stake in the business. If you're in corporate America, you're on a team, if you can just be that person to be known, like your personal brand matters just as much as your company brand. If you're the guy that knows AI, guess what? They're going to be like, oh, hey, Jane, would you mind like during our next team meeting where, you're sitting there with, 300 people. Hey, can you share with everybody what you learned? Don't you think that you start to become elevated? I think if people and either now that's a generalization I don't want to make, but I'm just saying like don't be lazy, guys. Don't be lazy. Now is not the time to be lazy. Now is the time to like really buckle down, learn this, get in the game, and start adding and talking about it. Like you just said, John, you're right. If you're not talking about it ever in your role, ever with leadership, with management, nobody. guess what? They're not gonna know. You might know, have all the answers that they
Yeah.
need, or they might gain some insight because most people don't know what's going on. They don't even understand it. And if you can just be a beacon of light, just a little bit, it like, man, it's like, it radiates a lot further than you actually realize. Now, that's not always gonna be the case, but today it is, you know? And it just, yeah, it's just a differentiator, man, that we want everybody. Like, if I could just shake people and be like, "Get in the damn
I
game
know.
already." Just wanna
I
shake
know.
everybody and be like, "Stop ignoring this and stop playing around with your stupid little, images and, like, you do something that really freaking
Yeah.
matters to the business." Like, stop
It's not
messing
fun
around with
and
your damn
games. This stuff
Gemini,
is
banana, nano images and, "Oh, look at what I did," and you're posting on your social media, and you're doing all this crap that means nothing, guys.
that's how the big AI companies get users to come to their platform. That's not how you become empowered. You
Yes.
know, they make it seem like this toy, and everyone who's playing with it like one, that's what they're doing. But you got to realize you got to harness it. I mean, it's a tool, it's a weapon in your success. I mean, it is something that can be utilized for your future, and I think that it's really a shame. Like a lot of it that's out there, it's very much like, man, like I can't believe like this is what people think this is,
Yeah,
and you got to let go of all that and start with a clean slate and go at it with a mindset of like how can I like really buckle up and get it to start working for me. And I think that we've done that. I feel like we learn something every single day. And these frustrations and conversations that we have, I think that's really what this show is about. I think just kind of riffing on it and getting it out there, because it's like sometimes, as you said, I just want to shake somebody. It's like it's crazy because that's how it feels. And after a year, a little more than a year actually, of working with people one to one and just live workshops and everything else, it's like interesting to see how many people are more open to it. I think the taboo of AI is gone, at least how as severe as it was a year or so ago, and now people are more open with it. So start talking about it, put
yes.
it out there, go to work and talk about it, or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Start just utilize it. And honestly, when some of this new stuff comes out, especially like a Gemini where it's connected to everything you have going on already, just start using it. I've
I
used
know.
Gemini more in the last week than I have
Yeah,
in the
me too.
last 3 months, and
Yeah.
almost stopped using ChatGPT in almost a week.
Yeah,
That's probably
I
why
know.
they called the code red.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. You know what's right? You're right, actually. That's actually a great point. I think people transition. They're like, "Ooh, let me figure out how to settle this up." They had Google Studio, they had Google Workspace Flows, they had updates to the model Gemini 3. They
yeah.
like came out blazing, dude, like ready to like crush. And they did, and I think you're right. Like they saw the user interaction go way down, and then they're like, "Oh crap, what just happened?" Well, now will it always stay like that? We all know, like, no, everything kind of like level sets, and then tomorrow, Anthropic will come out with their thing, and then
Right.
Microsoft will say, no, we have workspace flows too, and office flows, and we do this. And it's again, if you're not in the game, you don't even know what we just said right there.
Right.
If you're not in the game, you don't even realize what's happening around you. You don't even know that there's a game being played. You don't even realize you're literally in a game and you're just like an NPC. Don't be an NPC, a non-playable character. Do not be that and get in the game and start crushing it. And 2026, guys, will be an amazing year if you start to really take this serious and start to adopt it and get your AI fluency up. You got to get it up. It doesn't mean you become, by the way, just really quick, it doesn't mean that you're like now a master engineer on LLMs and how all the ones and zeros and how they work and all the token is like, that's not what this is about. AI fluency is not about that. What it is about is your understanding of how to connect the dots using these tools that are available to us today. And like, how do you get fluent with that? I'll give you an example. It's like learning a new language like Spanish. You didn't go back to understand the root of Latin and then this, and then you read 15, authors that created the language of Spanish from you didn't do that. No, you just learned how to say hola and como estás. That's what you did. And then you got better at that. And you became what? Fluent. You don't
Exactly.
have to know the roots of the words. You just became fluent. You knew how to speak it. You know how to connect the dots of like, oh, they're saying this. I need to say this now. That's the same thing.
And
I
you got
think a
to
lot of
be
people
around
get
people
kind
who
of
are speaking it.
confused. Yeah, they get confused with the like fluency. They think like, oh God, I got to learn like how the LLMs, what are they, and the ones and the zeros and the code and the no, no, no. It's nothing of like that. I mean, yeah, there's some if you want to go deeper into it, obviously, yes, but you don't need to. You just need to know like enough to have the conversation like if you were speaking another language enough to be able to get to a destination. Let's say you went to a new country, you know how to get to the destination, ask for directions, ask questions, with the locals. That's what you need to learn when it comes to AI. How do you get fluent? This is Riff. This is the
This
Riff.
is
All right.
Riff. Welcome.
Okay.
You were here. We did it.
All
Until
right,
the
guys.
next
Hey, we
time.
appreciate you. Yeah, we'll appreciate you. Hopefully, subscribe, check us out. We got more dialed in stuff coming, and we'll see you all next week. All right. Take care, guys.
See ya.
See ya.